Hello, and welcome to this edition of the 5-Minute Life Hack. This is something, as I say many times, but this is something I'm very passionate about that makes a big difference, I think, in people's lives. So today we're talking about humbly confident, and we'll skip through a few things and talk about hopefully some stories that make sense and really, have a pretty good idea of how this might help us and what we might be able to change to improve. So these were in Psychology Today. This was 6 proven ways to build confidence. And my assumption is that all of us could improve in one or more of these areas. So I would say when we talk about these things, think about the one area that you might be able to improve in the most, and maybe focus on that area and see if you can improve confidence. So first one is stop comparing yourselves to others. Social media, neighbors, maybe friends and family or siblings. Um, Recognize what they do great and be grateful for it and be excited for them, but don't compare yourself to them, because that's a dangerous thing and isn't very good for confidence, because you can always find someone who's better than you at some things or many things, and sometimes that devalues our worth and what we do well. Creating boundaries. This is one they talked about. They said it's hard to build confidence when you don't feel like you have control of your own life. And so creating boundaries of you know, who you will see, when you will see them, um, when things are not helpful to you, being able to stop those things or distance yourself from those things can really help. So you could probably do 25-minute life hacks just on that. Take care of your body. We talk about this one a lot in our fitness and our physical side. Obviously, as you work out, as you do things, you create endorphins in your body. As you eat healthy, as you sleep well. I notice for me, one of the biggest things is sleep. If I do not sleep well, I am not as happy the next day. I'm kind of cranky. I'm shorter. My brain doesn't function well. I can't process as reasonably as I would hope to, and so that's a big one for me. So next one is spend time with positive people. We talked a lot about like energy vampires, and this is kind of the reverse. Spend time with people who are positive and lift you up, who are doing things in their life, who excite you, who motivate you. Those kind of people are the people we want to be around, and that's what we want in our organizations as well. People who are confident, people who are doing things, people who, if you ask them to do something, they say they'll do it. They will do their best, and they will accomplish what they're looking to do. Um, Heard some great stories about some of those things happening at one of our companies this week when we had an all hands meeting. So fantastic. Kudos. There's stories like that all over the place, but we appreciate everybody working their hardest and doing their best. That's important. Reframe your negative self-talk. This is one I think I had a good friend I was close to, who spent some time in prison, and he talked about this is one of the best things he learned in prison was to manage his own self-talk, because of where he was and some life choices. He was in a really tough situation, and it's really easy when you're down and out to really have negative self-talk. And that was one of the most valuable things he learned in prison, was to negotiate and to distance himself from the negative self-talk and turn that around and make it positive. And I thought that was really interesting that that was his takeaway from prison. And to be honest, he'd done a great job turning his life around. He's got a great family. He's working hard. He's accomplishing a lot of things. So anyway, that's a really important one. We probably all do have a little bit of negative self-talk, whether it's body image, or, oh, I'm dumb at this, or I'm a slow reader, or I don't catch on as quickly, or whatever. The more we talk and let ourselves speak negatively to ourselves, the more we believe it. And I've had a couple of those things that I recognize in my own life, and I'm trying to change. For example, I told myself, and I told myself this for years, but I'm not great at remembering names. I remember faces. I remember movements. I can spot you from 200 yards away because of how you walk and how you run, but I can't remember your name sometimes. And I've told myself that over and over and over, and I think it's made it worse instead of making it better. And so I've quit telling myself that, and I really just work at trying to remember people's names in a different way or a better way. And I'm not perfect at it. I still recognize it's not one of my strengths, but I'm not letting myself negative talk myself into making it worse anymore. So act as though you feel confident, fake it till you make it. We have a situation right now where our kids are changing schools and they're a little bit nervous about going to a new school. Um, and we talked this week in our family about what's a good strategy to make new friends, to be open to people. And we've always taught our kids that if you are nice and kind, you will always have friends. And I truly believe that's true. But we talked even more in detail about some strategies. And my 20-year-old son actually brought this up, and I thought it was really good that when you meet someone new, you have this weird 5-second interval where you can totally introduce yourself, be confident, say, hey, my name's Tage, I'm here. What's your name? What are you doing? And it doesn't feel awkward or weird at all. But if you let that first 5, 6, 8 seconds go and you just say, hey, and then you don't say anything else, then it starts to get more and more awkward to try to pull that back and have that conversation, that introductory conversation. And I thought it was a great point he made to some of his younger siblings. So it was really good. Here's a story we had. We went and visited family one time, and we were young. We had young kids at the time, and so did they. And we were blown away because their kindergartner was doing all these things we weren't having our kids do, or we hadn't taught our kids to do, or we hadn't trusted our kids to do. That was probably the bigger takeaway. But their kindergartner would wake themselves up in the morning. They would start the laundry as a 6-year-old. They would eat breakfast and they would leave for school without their mom and dad having to get up and be like, okay, eat your breakfast, where's the laundry, do this, do that. They just did it because their parents had taught them over time. And the kids were that confident that they could just get up and do those things. And my wife and I both looked at each other and thought, oh boy, our kids can do a lot more than we let them do. And we need to be better as parents to let them accomplish things and be confident in doing things like that. There was a really interesting article in the New York Times. It's probably been 15 years ago now. Some of you have heard of it. I don't want to talk about the right or wrong of this decision. I want to talk about how it relates to confidence. So there's a New York Times writer. Her son, I believe it was 9 years old, and they'd been riding this subway for years and years and years. And the son kept hounding her and hounding her and hounding her about, hey, I want to ride on the subway alone by myself. Now, for us nowadays, that seems super scary. And 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was probably a little bit more common, but very, very uncommon thing to do. So one day she did. She finally gave in after months and months of this kid asking to ride by himself. She left him a $20 and a Metro card and a map and said, I'll see you at home. And she left him at one of the train stations and she left. And she and her husband had talked about this and they kind of planned it out and they knew their son was, aware of the stops and where he needed to be, but she didn't baby him either. She didn't helicopter him. She didn't go to the car behind him and just watch. She literally went home and he found his way all the way home and just walked in and, an hour and a half or whatever it took. And can you imagine the confidence that that kid has now to get around the city and to move around in New York, probably one of the more complicated places in the country to get around. And the confidence that that built for that kid. Again, I don't want to talk about the right or wrong and the danger and all of that stuff. I want to talk about the confidence that that did for that kid. He knows now that he can accomplish hard things. I love that. And so that's one thing we tell our kids all the time. We have a motto at our house that scouts can do hard things. That's our family motto. We can do hard things. And I'm convinced that if kids and adults for that matter don't do hard things, then they can't, literally, you cannot have confidence. But when a kid or a person does something hard, whether it's a race or learning a language or learning an instrument or something that's difficult for them, going to bed early, like could be anything. But every time you accomplish something you believe is hard for yourself, it builds confidence. And most importantly, it builds confidence in yourself. And I love that idea that there's no way to have confidence without accomplishing hard things. And sometimes as parents, I think we protect our kids so much. And frankly, sometimes as individuals, I think we protect ourselves so much to say, oh, it's okay, or, you know, and again, this is a big topic, but I think to gain confidence, we need to be able to accomplish hard things. So think about the last time you accomplished something hard. Sometimes we get in a normal rhythm of life and we don't push ourselves. We get up, we go to work, we go to our workout or whatever, we eat, we see the family, we go to bed, we do it again. I would challenge you to think about something hard that you're trying to accomplish and go after it, go make it happen. And I promise as you do, your confidence will build. This is a quote I'd like to end with that I loved. It says, there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. And this is why I named this episode Humbly Confident. And the thin line is called humility. Confidence smiles and arrogance smirks. And so I love the way that this quote puts it, because confidence is something that's internal, you know about yourself. Arrogance is something that you are putting other people down around you. That is not at all what we're talking about. We're talking about internal confidence. And people who are the most confident also, I've found, have a huge measure of humility, that they value other people. They love other people's accomplishments. They're not threatened by it. They love to see it. They love to help others. They love to mentor. Those are the people we want to be, I think, in life. So anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day. Go be humbly confident and build some of your own confidence today. Build those people around you, and yeah, go make an impact. Thanks.